There are many videos on the internet on how to remove rust. Surface rust is easy. I mean, all you really need is a wire brush of some kind, and you can get most of that off. Actually, this was kind of rusty, and I used a wire brush on the surface, and I got it cleaned up pretty well. The problem is the rust that's in the joints. This is a pair of cutters, and they are literally frozen. You can't open them at all. There's rust down inside here and the like, and where no wire brush will ever get. So I'm going to try and get that rust out using electrolysis. And I've got my pliers here, which need derusting. Then I've got my non-conductive container to contain the electrolyte solution, which is basically water and borax, which is sodium bicarbonate, to make it conductive. And along with that, I have a little stick-like thing that I've cut so it'll fit nicely in the thing here and hold the two things that I need as well. One is I need an electrode, or yeah, this happened to be I think it was the anode if I remember right. It hooks to the positive side of a battery, and most places they use just rebar, but I couldn't find any rebar. This is, I think, just an uncoated steel bolt, because I don't want any zinc on it or anything like that to impede the flow of electricity. And I'll drill a hole and put that in here, and then I'll drill another hole over here, and with this wire, which again I'm hoping will work, it's a steel wire. It's annealed, which means it's been heated, but supposedly it's not coated, so I'm hoping it will work. And I'll wrap some of that around this and then hang that in the solution. And like I said, then we'll put a battery charger positive here on the anode, and on the cathode here we'll put negative, and we'll let it run, and we'll see whether or not it clears the rust out from the inside of the joints. Because if it doesn't, unfortunately, these pair of cutters are garbage because they no longer open and close. So this is the last ditch effort to save them. So let's see what happens. Well, we set up the thing. I put about 3 liters of water in there, and about 4 tablespoons of the washing soda. The formula is supposed to be like 4 tablespoons per gallon, so we'll see. One of the ironies is that the battery charger is more corroded than the pliers. I've got them hooked up, and if you can take a look down in there, you can see bubbles, which are supposed to be doing what it's doing, I think. So we'll find out. Leave it overnight here and see what it looks like in the morning. Well, it's working. Kind of, anyway. Done a real good job of removing the surface rust. A couple things I've discovered. Number one, you remember I started off with this big fancy bolt as the anode. Problem was, after a little while, it got coated with rust and stuff, and basically the process stopped. So I had to steel wool off the rust and start again. I thought because it was, plated with something, it's shiny, it's not, just steel, that maybe it was interfering with the process. So I decided to replace it with just a nail. I don't know if you can see it underneath there. And it also works pretty well. Although again, it gets rusty and coated too. This is the second time I've had to pull it out and steel wool off the rust. So it doesn't work all on its own, that's for sure. Another thing I discovered is the closer to the anode, the positive here, the object is, the better the process. You can see here in the front there's a lot of bubbling and stuff going on, but if you look behind here, you can see that there's not quite as much going on in the back. So it looks like the further away the surface is, the less rust removal you get. Anyway, it still can't. Using a hammer and a screwdriver, I did manage to get it to move a little, opening and closing, but it's not working yet. Although it does look like it has removed some of the rust from between the joints. So we'll let this work for a while longer and see what happens. Okay, well, for the past 3 days, off and on, I've been using the electrolysis to clean these clippers. And it did a great job on the surface rust. They're a lot nice and shiny. And to be fair, also, along with the electrolysis, I did use a hammer and a wedge here to pop these apart, which broke loose some of the rust. And I also used some this stuff called PB Blaster, which is a rust dissolvent, and this WD-40 to as a way of getting rid of some of the rust, along with the electrolysis thing. And they do work some. They're not perfect, but they do work. So I'd have to say that while the electrolysis does bang up job on surface rust, internal rust, it did get, this area was pretty much filled, and it's free now and stuff, so it does work some. But one of the big drawbacks of the electrolysis thing is the amount of maintenance it takes. I mean, you can't just, I saw one video online where the lady just set it up and then walked away overnight. And unfortunately, that doesn't work, because these electrodes, at least the ones I was using, in about 10 minutes or less, they would be all rusted, rust to the point where the electrolysis effect would stop. And you'd have to clean them with sandpaper and some steel wool, and then start again, and then it would start again. So you can't just set it and walk away from it for hours on end, because at least this setup I'm using doesn't work that way. I don't know if you have a bigger one, or whether you use rebar or something like that, whether that might be a different matter. But the way I was working it, you had to, about every 15 minutes you had to check on it. Anyway, like I said, it does seem to work.